much to the supporters of channel member Curtis Rothwell. Yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed about what happened in the playoffs as well. It's just playoffs aren't really my thing. I think the only solution, and hear me out on this one, is to give me loads of money to spend this summer so we just win the league easily and don't have to worry about the playoffs again. Okay. Hello and welcome to part 39 of Holiday Home. I'm Kevin. Coming up on today's episode, we have our season review and transfer special. And I know I normally start these videos with the season review, but Mrs. Wearmouth has just dropped a wage budget bombshell. She is backing us this summer. £23,000 a week of initial wage budget. Obviously no transfer budget, but £23,000 a week in wage budget is a £9,000 increase per week off of what we had last season. It means our current wage budget is, I mean, we're well within it. That means we've got the option to keep the likes of Fakal, Cucurella, Carrington, these players who were on the cusp of leaving. We can choose to keep some of them. We'll make that decision shortly. But whether we keep them or not, we're going to be able to go out and bring in some more players and improve this team that finished third in the league this year. We're going up as bleeping champions, boys and girls. In other news, that Ezra Carrington offer that we got at the end of the playoff video yesterday, they've actually offered a season-long loan back, Portsmouth. So Ezra Carrington's out of contract in 3 weeks, but Portsmouth have offered a loan back until the end of the season. I don't know if they mean the end of this season that is already over or the end of next season. If we manage to somehow get Ezra Carrington, who's currently earning £850 a week, wants £2,000 a week, if we manage to get him to stay at the club next year for no wages, that would be sensational. I don't expect that to be the thing. And I actually think, despite having the extra wage budget, Carrington is probably someone who we can't really justify keeping, because he's a right back and I can't spend £2,000 a week on a right back. That's madness. But if I look at some of the other players who are out of contract, the obvious ones that we might want to keep, Romero's done, he can leave. But I look at Ivan Fakal and the Ivan Fakal dream. I mean, he's only a 2.5-star player now. Has he got sensible expectations? Because if we can keep Ivan Fakal, that would be lovely. But I think he needs to be coming in at less than £1,000 a week. Oh, Ivan, I can't justify a 2-year contract for a man who turns 32 soon and is only 2.5 stars. I think we have to be brutal and let Fakal go. But Cucurella is definitely someone we could now keep. At 21 years old, he's been here a little while. Russ Eddy is definitely someone we could look to keep, who's come through our own youth system. Kevin Carlos is someone we're definitely going to look to sell because he's on a lot of money and still has a year left on his contract. But Mrs. Wearmouth has opened some doors for us with this frankly, it is enormous budget that she's offered me. Right. Okay, so I do need to go and offer Cucurella a contract, which I think I will. He's got loads of potential. We know what we've got with Cucurella. See, that's so much money. He even wants a match highest earner clause. No. Balls to it. We'd made peace with him leaving. He can leave anyway. That is too much money for a guy that I consider to be a fringe player. So Cucurella and Fakal are definitely leaving anyway. We'll work on the others in a moment. But first, let's do our end of season review, because we've got to remind ourselves that was a very good season. We were newly promoted. We weren't supposed to be in a promotion race, and we pushed them all the way for automatic promotion without being able to spend any money last summer. Because remember as well, we went professional last summer, and just turning our existing players from part-time to full-time used up all of our budget. So we didn't make any permanent signings last summer, brought in a couple of players on loan, and that was that. So signing of the season's gone to Donut, who was a very average loan, 6.58 average rating. I mean, I've got no intention of, if he offered to come and play for us for another year for nothing, I'd say no thank you. but he's the signing of the season. That puts into context just how good that season was. Ivan Luis, despite the fact that little Kev doesn't score goals anymore, Ivan Luis does. So he's still here. He's still under contract. And finances wise, we're still not making any money. We're not going to worry about making money. Making money is what we worry about when we move further up the leagues. Kevin Carlos still sells more shirts than anybody else. Like I say, I think we are going to try and move him on. And this was our team of the year. I'm a little concerned at how few of them have got an average rating in the green. Despite the fact that some of these are very, very good players, that does speak to some inconsistency amongst some of our players. I mean, you would definitely say Rabiot and Luis are our best players. I don't know why Alex Boxall's not in that team. He could easily be in ahead of Cucurella or Donut, and should be. But the team of the year was Romero in goal, a back row of Zafra, Joffrey, Ivan, Carrington, Donut, Cucurella and Rabiot, Martinez, Perez, Facao and Luis. So we're already rebuilding from here because Facao's leaving, Cucurella's leaving, Donut's leaving, Carrington's leaving and Romero is leaving. So of the team of the year last year, 5 of them are not going to be here. So we need a big summer. Fans player of the year and young player of the year is Luis. Moreno got goal of the season. Luis, top goal scorer. Facao, in his final season for the club, got most assists. Luis, most man of the matches and highest average rating. We're not a one-man team. He's just really, really good. Ivan Facao, worst discipline as well, but is now our all-time record appearance holder. Thank you, Ivan Facao, but your time here is over. And he takes his place. I mean, he was already in there in the all-time best 11. Who's moved into the all-time best 11 this year? Ivan Luis has displaced Kevin Carlos up front. Romero has made it in goal. And Ivan Mutt has made it onto the bench despite never really establishing himself in the team. So, I mean, that looks about right as an all-time best 11. A lot of these boys, it's largely our current team. You just take Vega out and put Zafra in, who will get in there eventually anyway. And that's our current 11. So it shows just how good we were last season. We've taken on more social media followers as well, which is the measure of how cool a dude you are. At lollujo on all the socials. Please follow. Thank you. And what's Mrs. Wearmouth looking for? Obviously, she wants me to work within the wage budget, which based on the budget she's given me is entirely reasonable. She wants a top half finish, which, again, very, very reasonable. With that kind of budget, we've got to be looking to push for promotion. Although, that being said, I mean, we're getting all excited about this budget that we've been given. But if we actually look how that compares to other budgets in this league, I've pressed the wrong button there, but let's go to there. So Real San Sebastian B have spent nearly £8 million on wages over the course of last season. Our new 24,000 a week is 1.2 million, which would put us still in the relegation zone. We'd be 18th rather than 20th for wage budget, and we did have the lowest wage budget last season at only 700,000. So it's a big increase, but for context, it still doesn't allow us to mix with the big boys, and obviously we don't know which B teams are going to be getting relegated either. But let's do the end of season team meeting, tell the boys that we are looking for that top half finish, that we know we're definitely capable of that, because we know we're going to be improving the team. And they go on an end of season break, and we give Russ Eddy a new contract because he is one of our own, and he definitely gets a new deal. Come on, Russ. Don't do anything stupid like ask for too much money. See, he knows what side his bread is buttered. Russ Eddy gets a new deal. Cucurella, Facao, Carrington, Romero, they're all going to be leaving. The loanees go back to their parent clubs. And I think Manuel Rostol, despite what happened when he had to play, we have to remember this boy is only 16 years old and does have a lot of potential. So I think he gets a new deal as well. Very much you are the third choice goalkeeper deal, but a new deal for him all the same. Do we just offer Kevin Carlos out now? I think we do. I think we transfer list Kevin Carlos and hope that somebody comes in for him, and we then plan to rebuild over the rest of the summer. So we've got about 3 weeks until free transfer day. I will try and get rid of Kevin Carlos in the meantime. We have offers. They're big offers. Goodness me, they're big. Am I making a mistake? These are big offers. Right, what's the biggest one? 53,000. So we'll accept that. And then everyone else needs to come up to that. So Kevin Carlos is leaving. So that's going to free up another £1,000 a week on the wage budget. And then we just wait for free transfer day. Our facilities have been downgraded. I suspect we're not going to be able to push them back up again. I mean, we'll ask. Mrs. Wearmouth seems to be in a good mood. But now I think we wait for the 1st of July and see what we can find. New sponsorship deals as well. Oh, look at all that scouting. Don't mind me, everybody. Doobie-doo. Magic. Look at that. We're now over 24,000. We'll just do surrounding divisions. That's fine. We don't really use the scouts because our scouts are rubbish. We do all of our signings based on director of football recommendations. So I don't care about scouting still at this stage of the save. So I am excitement with the squad that we've got. So ignoring the guys who are leaving, we've got a squad of 17 first team players who are all under contract for next year, 18 if you include Russ Eddy, plus some promising up-and-coming youngsters, and £10,000 a week of extra wage budget to spend. We could go and get 5 players to replace the 5 that are leaving. We could go and get 5 players on £2,000 a week each. And that's all we really need to do. Oh, very happy. Right, the Ezra Carrington deal is about to go through. I still don't know whether he's going to be loaned back to us just for the next 2 weeks, which is pointless, or whether we get him on loan until the end of next season, which would be amazing for a player who we'd already resigned ourselves to the fact was leaving. So let's accept that and see what happens. Because surely Portsmouth can't sign him yet. They can. So he's gone to Portsmouth. He is on loan with us until the end of next season. He was out of contract and leaving, and he is now with us for 1 more year for free. That is awesome, because that is a very talented player who knows the way we play, fits into the squad beautifully, who we were going to have to replace that we now don't have to replace. So we're now in a situation where we've still got that extra £10,000 a week plus the Kevin Carlos money to come, and we only need to replace Romero, Facao, Cucurella, and then Carlos when he leaves, and also Donut as well. So we've got to bring in 5 players, and we're going to have £11,000, close to £12,000 once the Kevin Carlos transfer money's been moved into wage budget as well. We can bring in some really high quality players. That is, I mean, Football Manager, you are a broken mess. That shouldn't have happened, but it has, and I'm delighted. Well, Kevin Carlos is going to be leaving, and could there be a more appropriate team for this man to go and sign for? Mr. Plateau himself going to Plateau United. He was phenomenal in the 4th tier. Could not make the step up. Injuries certainly didn't help. And, thank you, Kevin. You were great. I didn't think we'd ever be transfer listing you and forcing you out the door. That being said, we can very much use the money, and I think we can do better and bring in a much higher quality striker over the top of you. Liverpool have signed Endrick from Real Madrid for £121 million. That feels like quite a significant transfer to have just popped up there. I'm just waiting for the little Kev deal to be confirmed. I think we might be ticking over into the new season, which is why it's stuck on this screen. It sort of hangs here when that happens. So I'll show you in a minute the impact that that's had on budgets. And there is your confirmation the deal has gone through. How much is he earning there? Oof. Well, he gets to go back home to Nigeria and earn more money than he ever earned in Europe. That's got to be a win-win for Kevin Carlos. And money-wise, it puts some money into the transfer kitty, which, of course, we don't need it in the transfer kitty. So we're going to move it straight over into the wage budget, which gives us now a £25,000 budget, which means we're only spending barely half of our wage budget, and we have most of our squad in place and good youngsters ready to come through. These signings that we bring in, I mean, we've got to be able to find them, but we've never been better set up to go out and bring in players who are going to turn this team into a team that can go and win the league. Remember, a third place finish last year. The media thought we were mid-table. When this ticks over into the new season and we've made our transfers, I want the media to be expecting us to be top 5, and then we're going to go and win the whole thing. So we have made it through to the 1st of July. So that means Ivan Fakal has now left the club. It was an emotional moment, but he is going. I mean, I say it was an emotional moment. I missed the inbox message and didn't say goodbye. But he's gone. Ivan Fakal has left the club after. I mean, he's been an incredible 7, but he turns 32 in 2 months' time. He was only a 2.5-star player at the end there and wanted big money on a 2-year deal. So after 173 appearances, 32 goals, 57 assists, and a lifetime average rating at home of 7.03, Ivan Fakal has moved on. We'd obviously love to bring him back as a staff member one day, but not now. Cucurella has left as well, as has Adrian Romero. The loanees have gone back to their parent club, of course, all apart from Ezra Carrington, who, deal of the century, is still here for one more year. That leaves us with a first team squad of 19 players. If we just whack them into the squad planner, we have just had a little bit of shenanigans with Ivan Luis, who came to me saying he was going to explore his options at the end of his contract. I said, how about you sign now? He sacked his agent. We then went into contract negotiations and he asked for $5,000 a week. So Ivan Luis, we're just going to let him run down his contract unless we find 2 incredible strikers this summer and can sell him now. But I think we may as well just get another year out of him and let him go on a free. And there's always the possibility that if we get promoted, he'll agree to a new deal. But if he wants anything above like $3,000 a week, it ain't ever going to happen. So he'll probably just leave on a free transfer. With Fakal leaving, by the way, we now have a very, very young squad. Ezra Carrington is the oldest player at the club, and he's only here on loan. So maybe we could bring in a little bit of experience this summer. But with 19 players, if we have a look at the squad view on the squad planner, obviously Romero is gone, so we need a real goalkeeper. We've got Boyer and Rostol as backups, but priority number 1 has to be a proper goalkeeper. We then look forward at the defence. Ivan Such, I think, is fine. He's one of our own. He's a homegrown boy. He's got 3 stars and potential to improve. I'm pretty confident with him. Joffrey, we'll see. He kind of lost his place towards the end of last season. I think he's fine as one of 4 centre-backs, but not necessarily as a starter. And Markel Jimenez basically is a centre-back now. He was playing centre-back towards the end of last season. I'm not really considering him a right-back anymore, so he is there as a centre-back. I think outside of those 3, we probably do need 1 more. That being said, Dan Grocott, who last time we met Dan Grocott was a central midfielder, has spent a year out on loan playing in the league below us as a centre-back and has come back as an accomplished centre-back. He's 6'4", and you can't teach that. He can't tackle, but you can teach that. So I am inclined to continue his development as a centre-back, have him around the first team squad, primarily as a midfielder, but one that could also play centre-back if needed. And then we've also got Xander as well as an option, although I've used him more in the full-back areas previously. Quite a useful squad player across the back 4. If we look at the fullbacks, Zafra at left back, we're very happy with. We don't need anyone to replace him. And then we've got Russ Eddy, Kieran Hodgkinson as a young left back as well. And then there was another one on there as well. Oh, Xander again. And then at right back, of course, Ezra Carrington's in for another year. And then Such and Jimenez can cover there, as can Hodgkinson. We probably need another right back or another centre back, depending on what we decide Jimenez is going to be long term. So to summarise, a goalkeeper, a defender, doesn't necessarily matter what flavour of defender he is. We probably only need 1, and he could slot in anywhere really. But just an extra defender, probably a centre-back, so that we can have a starting back 4 of at least 3 stars. I'm surprised to see Carrington has dropped down to 2.5 stars for his position suitability, because he's always been very good for us. And then when we move forward into midfield, obviously we've got Alex Boxall, natural at both central midfielder and defensive midfielder, so can play in either of those roles. Behind him at defensive midfield, we've got the 2 youngsters we sent out on loan last year, who are now both a year older and wiser, Gustavo Munoz and Al Star. We've also got another youngster who's now bursting through, Arlind Ramadani, who's done his 2 years out on loan and is now ready to push for a first team spot. And then further forward, we've obviously got Rabiu, Koulibaly, who was last year's loan returnee, Dan Grocott, we've already talked about. A lot of these, I mean, we probably need 2 midfielders. One to offer some real competition at defensive midfield to Boxall, and one to play alongside Rabiu as a guaranteed star to basically fill the Cucurella void. And then we've got a lot of youngsters to be backups in all of the other positions, which I think I'm happy going with the youngsters. So far, goalkeeper, centre-back, DM and centre-mid. He doesn't want much, does he? Because then we also need a striker. We've only really got Ivan Luis as a starter. Fred Stiebling did get a run towards the end of last season and is someone I am willing to give more time to this year, but we need another proper striker to replace little Kev. Ivan Mutt is definitely not that man. And then out wide, obviously Rabiu is a central midfielder now. We don't consider him out there on the wing. So on the left wing, we've only really got Martinez Perez. In fact, forget that. We've got Rob Harley as well. We don't need anyone on the left wing unless we play Martinez Perez on the right wing to replace Fakal, who of course has moved on, and then promote Rob Harley to be a starter. Because if we look at what we've got on the right-hand side, it is not quite as generous as the left. Ivan Mutt is the best option out there. Supposedly. I'm inclined at the moment to think Martinez Perez is my starter on the right. We basically need a winger. It doesn't matter which side they play because Martinez Perez and Ivan Mutt can both play both. So, to summarise, for the 1st of July, my shopping list with £11,000 a week to spend, my shopping list is thus: we need a goalkeeper, a first team goalkeeper, a first team centre back, a rotation defensive midfielder, and a starting central midfielder. We need, realistically, a starting right winger and a rotation striker. So what's that? 6 players. We could give each of them a couple of grand a week. We ain't going to need many loans this year, boys and girls. Let's go do all the transfers. Well, any hopes we had of automatic promotion have just been flushed down the toilet because look who's turned up in our league. How on earth are Barcelona B in the 3rd tier? What is going on? I mean, they are potentially a bit rubbish. They did get legitimately relegated. Barcelona's first team haven't been relegated down to this level. Last time they played in this tier, they only got 69 points. They did win the league, but they didn't completely dominate. Obviously, they've got lots more money than we have. But yeah, Barcelona, you would expect Barcelona B to win the league relatively comfortably, and we then are battling it out for the playoffs. We're also battling it out to try and sign any players. We identified some really good ones from the trialists that came in, but unfortunately, most of them have since gone on and signed for somebody else, usually on quite a lot more money than we were able to offer. So we've got a few offers in at the moment. I'm not particularly confident about any of them actually going through. We shall see. I'll introduce you to them if any of them sign, but I'm kind of ready to do the next round of trials at this point. The other thing I did notice on the season preview, there are 3 teams who can't get promoted because their parent team plays in the division above. So Almeria B, Levante B and Alaves B. That could prove crucial. I mean, if they're good and are challenging at the top of the league as well, we could potentially sneak into the playoffs from like 7th place if these teams end up in playoff positions and still can't go up. So we just have to hope Barcelona's first team get relegated so Barcelona B can't go up. That seems like a reasonable thing to hope for, right? Yeah? Oh. Right, first little wave of signings complete with 3 weeks into January, so we're getting early business done. Remember, the season doesn't start until nearly September? Actually September? Nearly September. Rabiu is off at the Olympics again, by the way. It's 4 years since we discovered Rabiu because he was off at the Olympics the first time. So he's off playing for Nigeria in the Olympics again. But signings-wise, we have started to bring a few new faces in. New face number 1 is our new goalkeeper, Rodrigo, who is he thinks he's only a backup. He's obviously going to be our starter. 2.5 stars of current ability. It'll be more than that. 4.5 stars potential, 6'3", formerly of Oviedo. Never really played much football, but he's an upgrade on the idiot that we had before. So we have a new goalkeeper that I am happy with. We also have our Fakal replacement, who obviously is going to wear the number 9 shirt as a right winger, because why wouldn't he? That annoys you. Hold my beer, boys and girls. We'll get to that. But Jose Joaquin Sandoval is a 22-year-old Spanish right winger. He is our direct replacement for Fakal on the right-hand side. 3.5 stars of current ability. The best right winger we've got at the club. Has played nearly 200 games in the league below where we are now, doing Fakal numbers, scoring lots of goals, getting lots of assists, doing a good average rating. He's got the contract Fakal wanted by doing what Fakal has done. The one thing he's got different to Fakal is 10 extra years in him because he's 22 rather than 32. Otherwise, that's the deal Fakal would have got. We've then signed a defender, Jorge Hurtado. I told you to hold my beer. He's our new centre-back. He's our new number 11. Auto number. I mean, do I look like I picked the numbers myself? Do I look like I care about squad numbers? I'm wearing a goat hat, for goodness sake. 2.5 stars of current ability, 4.5 stars of potential. Can also play right back, can also play defensive midfield. We've brought a couple of centre backs in who can both cover central midfield because we kind of want that flexibility out of our centre backs. This guy is, he's played 50 odd games at around about this level. And then we've also signed Ivan Galdino, who again is a natural centre-back, but can also play DM and central midfield. And he is formerly of Atletico Madrid. But the reason we went for the flexibility in the centre-backs is because we want to be able to cover this role with them as well. Because I'm not sure I'm going to use this role. We've now got plenty of players who can play as a defensive midfielder, but Alex Boxall is also natural central midfield. Galdino, Hurtado and natural centre-backs. Munoz and Starr and Ramadani can all play central midfield. So we've not got anyone in the squad who can only play here. So if we decide to do a 4-2-4, which we talked about at the end of last season, or if we decide to do a 4-2-3-1, we have the option to without sacrificing a player on a big salary. But it also means we're not necessarily getting in the way of the likes of Jimenez and Grocott and Suster because some of these players will end up playing in other positions, whether it's out at fullback, further forward in midfield, meaning the likes of Grocott and Jimenez will still get game time. And then on the right-hand side, obviously, we've got the new boy Sandoval, who will compete with Ivan on the right-hand side. Fred Stiebling will still get game time. Martinez Perez can play out there at a push if Rob Harley develops nicely. And then it just leaves us with 2 gaps in the squad. We need another central midfielder because Rabiot, Boxall, Koulibaly, Grocott as our top 4 doesn't fill me with loads of confidence. I think we need a 4th centre mid, and then we definitely need another striker because Fred Stiebling as our first reserve, again, not ideal, but we still have 5k a week spare in our budget to go out and get a starting central midfielder and a starting striker who won't necessarily start, but I want to be able to compete with Ivan Luis. I want to have the option of playing 2 strikers. So we're going to go out and find those players now. Right, couple more players in. Neither of them really fit the bill of what I said I wanted. This is my new midfielder. So look, in the middle there, his best position is midfield. He can also do all of the other ones as well. Even his goalkeeper rating is 3. I obviously signed him because he can play everywhere and I'm titillated by it. But he's a decent option for us in central midfield. He's obviously not going to be a starter anywhere, but he's going to be very handy to have on the bench. And he's got lots of potential to improve and played a full season in the division above last year. I'm just going to put the mouse there so you can't see any of that. But yeah, he played a full season there last year. Don't look at, don't stop looking at that. It's none of your business. Goodness me. And then we've signed a striker, Gorka Pascual, who is, again, perfectly adequate backup striker, who is fine. I mean, he's not going to do anything special. He's not going to be as good as Little Kev. I think we've actually downgraded our attacking options. We have still got money to spend, so we probably will still look to bring in another attacking option. Whether it's an out-and-out striker, I'm not entirely sure. Those of you who like finishing or love the fact he's got high finishing, he's also big and good at heading. Well, he's actually bad at heading, but he's good at jumping and having the ball hit him in the head, which is basically the same. He can jump high and finish well as long as the ball is below waist height. He's a confusing prospect, but he was relatively cheap, as a lot of them have been. So if we go back and look at our squad planner again, we are starting to fill up in those key areas. If we would have found an outstanding goalkeeper to come over Rodrigo, I wouldn't be upset. That being said, Rodrigo's got a load of potential. I'm happy to keep him in. Similar thing really up front. This guy we've tried to sign all summer. He keeps agreeing terms and then pulling out at the last minute. So forget that he exists. But obviously we've got Ivan Luis. We've got Jonathan, who can play there as well. Pasquale, who's just come in. Still got Fred Stiebling knocking around as well. So we don't want to get too much in the way of his development. He's one of our main options out on the right-hand side as well. I would still, if a really good centre mid came up or a really good striker came up, I would bring them in. But we are now at the point where we have reached the maximum number of players in our squad. So actually, we can't register Zander at the moment. So I think we're probably going to send him out on loan because we brought in a couple of defenders. So we can probably let him go and do a season on loan. He's done a couple previously, had his season in the first team squad last year, didn't really get to play, so hasn't really developed anymore. So let's put him out on loan for another year. And anyone else who comes in is going to lead to another one of the youngsters being pushed out of the first team squad because we're at our maximum. So the likes of Kieran Hodgkinson, Dan Grocott, Fred Stiebling, Al Starr, Russ Eddy. These guys are all kind of at risk of being pushed out of the first team squad if anyone else comes in now. Keep an eye on Rob Harley, by the way, who is quietly doing a Mick Powell and getting ready to establish himself on that left-hand side. Martinez Perez needs to watch his back or learn to play right midfield even better than he already can, because Rob Harley is making moves for a starting spot, similar to what we saw from Zafra this time last summer, and he's now very much an established player. If we have a look at what the media think of the signings I've done so far, they've moved us up to 6th favourites, which I think we're one signing away. We're a real top level central midfielder away from being promotion favourites. I think we're not going to be able to compete with Barcelona, but if we can find, I'd stick $3,000 a week on a really, really good midfielder to partner Rabiot in central midfield, let Boxall drop back to being the holding midfielder again, and just have a really top level midfielder to play alongside Rabiot. I would throw money at that if such a thing presented itself, and then maybe a striker on loan, and we're probably done. It's still not even August yet. Got loads of time. Easy peasy. So we have made it to the end of the, well, almost the end of the summer. We've actually got one more deal that we're trying to get done, which I'll show you in a second. We did sign one more player though. It was a 6'6" goalkeeper. We didn't even look at his attributes. We saw he was 6'6" and was previously at Real Madrid. So we've just signed him. Turns out he's no better than Patrice Boyer. So we are going after someone else as our third goalkeeper, Thomas Serrano. We're trying to get him in on loan. He's an 18-year-old Argentinian under-20 international who'd be coming on loan from San Lorenzo in Argentina. It's a very weird arrangement. We're going to have to pay his full salary, but he is better than any other option that we've got. And he's probably going to go on to become a very good goalkeeper. So we're trying to bring him in while simultaneously getting Boyer out on loan, because we're only allowed to have 3 goalkeepers registered. We've also got a Markel Jimenez situation where Andorra want him. They offered money for him. I turned it down. He got in a grumpy and announced he's leaving on a free transfer at the end of the season. So he's pretty much dead to me. And then there's other players that we brought in on trial that we're not going to end up keeping. So this is likely to be the team for the first day of the new season. Got a very familiar look around it again. I mean, it's a back four that were all here last year, although Carrington, of course, is now here on loan. New goalkeeper in, but possibly only temporarily while we wait for the Argentinian guy. A very homegrown looking midfield. Alex Boxall back where he belongs at the base of the midfield. No donut this season. Koulibaly has been made vice captain to replace Fakal. And at 21 years old, this needs to be the year he establishes himself as Rabiot's central midfield partner, or he'll go the way of Cucurella last year. Martinez Perez on the left, new boy Sandoval on the right, and then we will be playing new boy Pasquale up front, only because Ivan Luis isn't fully fit. He was injured pre-season, and has just played for the under-19s or the B team or somebody to try and get some match fitness into him, and it means he's not actually fit and ready to play. So he'll miss out on that first day of the new season. But overall, I think it's been a pretty productive summer. We obviously had key players we needed to replace. Little Kev, Pacquiao, Romero. We've replaced those key players. We've also added some decent youngsters in key areas. The likes of... have we added anybody else? Who else have I signed? Where are the rest of the defenders? Hold on. I feel like I've got players missing. Where is the defender I signed? Where's this guy? Why is he in the under-19s? Hang about. I mean, no, get in the... Where are you? Why are you in the under-19s? What on earth is going on here? Where are you? Why are they all in the under-19s? What's going on? Where are you? You're in the... Right. They are now all in the first team squad. I don't know why they were all in the under-19s, but as I was saying, we've added some nice depth with some good young players in areas we needed to add. There they are now, and also brought up some of the youngsters who are potentially ready, like Dan Grocott, like Kieran Hodgkinson, Munoz, Fred Steebling's still knocking around the place as well. So I think it's been a productive summer. The media think we're going to finish 7th. We're going to win the league. Balls to Barcelona. We're the B-Bashers. We have no fear. And on the topic of being the B-Bashers, our old rivals Levante B have been promoted back up to this level, and we play them on the first day of the season. We need to absolutely batter them. That's the plan. Batter them on the first day of the season, and that will, of course, be the next episode. If you've enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos, and thank you very much for watching.